Okay, I want to tell you a story, but first I have to explain something to you. I know nowadays we have cell phones, just the square, rectangular, thin phones. But when I was growing up, we had phones kind of like this. Now, this is a toy phone, but we had phones like this that had a receiver and a cord. It would have been plugged into your wall, and it had a dial like this. So to make a phone call, you would lift this up, you put it to your ear, listen for a dial tone, and then you would dial. Like 3, 2, 1, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then it would ring, somebody would pick up, and you could talk. And then when you're done talking, you would hang it up, right? And if you made a mistake with the number, you'd have to hang up and start all over again. So, you need to understand old phones to understand this story. And the story I'm going to read to you is from Dr. Suess, and it's called The Glunk That Thunk. A thing my sister likes to do some evenings after supper is sit upstairs in her small room and use her thinker upper. She turns her thinker upper on. She lets it softly purr. It thinks up friendly little things with smiles and fuzzy fur. She sometimes does this by the hour, and when she's tired of play, she turns on her unthinker and unthinks the things away. Well, one evening she was thinking up some fuzzy little stuff, and Sister sighed, "This stuff's all right, but it's not fun enough. I've got to think up bigger things. I bet I can, you know. I'll speed my thinker upper up as fast as it will go." "Think, think," she cried. Her thinker upper gave a snorty snore. It started thunk, thunk, thunking as it never had before. With all her might, her eyes shut tight. She cried, "Thunk, thunk, some more." Then blunk! Her thinker upper thunk, a double clunker clunk. My sister's eyes flew open. She thunked a glunk. He was greenish, not too cleanish, and he sort of had bad breath. "Good gracious," gasped my sister. "I've thunk up quite a mess." Here's a glunk. She turned on her unthinker, tried to think the glunk away, but she found that her unthinker didn't seem to work that day. The glunk just smiled and said, "Dear child, you can't unthunk a glunk. Ask anyone, they'll tell you that a glunk can't be unthunk. I'm here to stay forever in your lovely, lovely home, and now with your permission, dear, I'll use your telephone. I call my mother every night. It gives her such great joy. She lives 9,000 miles away, and I'm her only boy." Do you telephone? "Long distance is expensive," Sister cried. "Get off that line." But the glunk dialed Texacoda Cut 123409. "Hello, Mother dear," gabbed the glunk. "I hope you're feeling fine, and don't worry about the phone bill. It's all paid by a friend of mine. I've just called you up to tell you how I love you. Oh, I do. And today I did some cooking, and I cooked some glunker stew. Let me tell you how I did it. You may want to make some too. You take a cup of applesauce. You add a pinch of straw. You drop in 14 oysters, 7 cooked, 7 raw. You beat it to a frazzle. with a special frazzle blade. Then you pour it in a rubber boot, half filled with lemonade. Then you toss it in the mixer, where you spuggle it and spin. Stop, my sister yelled. This costs $10 every minute. Money, pooh, the Glunk just laughed. Don't think of things like that. Then he said, now, darling mother, let me see. Where was I at? Oh, you take it off the mixer when the stew is nicely pink. Then you add a hunk of something, a chunk-a-look, I think. You chunk in the chunks of chiclets. Then you plunk in 7 cherries. And then you plunk in, mother dear, 3 dozen kinds of berries. Now, mother mine, please do this right. The berries you are plunking, unless you plunk them with great care, will keep the stew from glunking. Stop! Stop! My sister screamed. This is not a funny joke. My father can't afford this claw. My father will go broke. Now you keep still, the Glunk snapped back, and he kicked her in the shin. Don't you interrupt my mother when she's plunking berries in. Now, mother, plunk 1 berry blue. Now plunk 1 berry raz. What's that? You have no raspberries? Oh, everybody has. But if you don't have berries, raz, a schnutzberry will do. You have a schnutz? I know you have. Now plunk it in the stew. And he went on talking berries with his dear old darling mother. And he jabbered and he blabbered 1 whole hour, then another. He talked $300 worth. My sister shook with fright. This gunk might cost us millions. He might jabber on all night. My father will be ruined, will be penniless, we're sunk, unless I can unthunk him. Oh, I must unthunk this Glunk. And that is how I found them. She was standing there unthunking. The Glunk was still talking glunker stew. That Glunk was not unthunking. Could she unthunk the Glunk alone? It's very doubtful whether. So I turned my unthinker, and we unthunk the Glunk together. Then I gave her quite a talking to about her thinker-upper. Now, she only thinks up fuzzy things in the evening after supper. And that's the end.